What if I told you that hidden beneath centuries of dust, beneath the ruins of forgotten temples, and the silence of lost scrolls, there are three numbers, ancient, mysterious, numbers whispered in secret by prophets, kept alive by wandering monks, and scribbled in the ramblings of men once called mad. Numbers not meant for everyone, numbers that wait until the time is right, until the soul is listening, until the world reaches a point, just like now, when something begins to shift. And that moment isn't far off in the future. It isn't locked behind years of preparation. It isn't someday. It's now, this very June. I know how it sounds, like a bedtime story for dreamers, a tale passed down in firelight, the kind of thing you hear late at night and forget by morning. Clickbait with cosmic seasoning. But look again, listen deeper, because this is not fiction, and it's not hype, it's not even hope, it's alignment, a pattern older than language, a rhythm older than sound. It's the quiet thread running through centuries, barely seen, almost never heard, stretching across kingdoms and empires, across deserts and oceans, binding together the high-born and the forgotten, the rich and the ragged, the believers and the doubters. And that thread is growing taut. Something is stirring. It's subtle, but unmistakable, like the soft breath before thunder, like standing in a room where someone just left, and the air still remembers them. Some call it fate, others call it luck. But those who know, those who've studied the symbols, the prophecies, the cycles, they see something else: intelligence, deliberate motion, a consciousness beneath the chaos, guiding, nudging, whispering. And right now, that whisper is growing stronger, because for reasons no scientist can explain, and every mystic understands, something powerful always stirs in the final days of June. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange vibration in your chest when everything's quiet, that sudden pause in time that doesn't make sense, like the world is holding its breath, waiting. That isn't your imagination. Ancient seers across cultures spoke of moments like this. Buddhist masters described them as turnings of the invisible wheel, where even dust and silence begin to shimmer with potential. They said, when the unseen turns, even the smallest grain of sand may become gold. And in one of his more mysterious riddles, Nostradamus wrote, when the sixth moon wanes, the hidden triad shall awaken. Those who look will prosper. Those who sleep will vanish into shadow. So what makes this June different? It's not just the dates. It's not just the numbers. It's the convergence. Something is aligning, quietly, but unmistakably. It's not a shout. It's not a sign on a billboard. It's a pattern forming in silence, just like the moment before a storm. When the birds vanish, the wind shifts, and the sky goes still. You don't see lightning yet, but your body knows it's coming. And when you begin to trace this moment, through numerology, through the language of the stars, through the hidden history of lotteries, luck, and sudden wealth, a strange truth begins to emerge. Late June, again and again, holds a magnetic pull. Fortunes turn, lives change, numbers no one would ever choose suddenly strike gold. Events that defy statistics, wins that baffle experts, people who were invisible one day and transform the next. But before we explore those stories, before we uncover the dates that may alter destiny itself, you need to understand this. The numbers you're about to hear, they're not just numbers. They are keys, not to something external, but to a deeper current, a pattern that pulses beneath your life, a rhythm that has always been there, waiting for you to feel it. They come from the oldest languages, the numerology of the ancients, the alignments of astrology, the warnings of prophecy, and yes, the proof hidden in modern data. Because the universe doesn't reveal itself with noise, it whispers to the few who are quiet enough, still enough, awake enough to hear. So why does late June matter? Why, out of all the days in the calendar, do so many anomalies, So many quiet miracles disguised as numbers seem to gather here at the edge of the sixth month. Is it luck? Or has the universe been dropping clues in plain sight, waiting for someone finally still enough to notice? Let's walk, not through headlines, but through the shadows of lottery history, the cracks between official stories, the soft places where logic falters, and something stranger begins to glow. These aren't stories shouted from rooftops. These are whispers buried beneath the noise, the ones you only hear if you're already listening. In 2015, tucked inside a quiet suburb of Illinois, a school teacher stopped at a gas station after dinner. No birthdays, no calculations, just a sudden pull, a whisper in the chest. She bought one ticket. The next morning, she opened her bank app and stared at a number that didn't feel real. 8 digits, a fortune. She later said, "It felt like something I'd dreamed, but never dared to believe." The date? June 29th. Then, in 2020, across the country in Florida, 5 janitors, all working the graveyard shift at a local facility, shared something none of them could explain. Each, on different nights, had the same dream. Glowing digits, a pattern pulsing behind their eyes as they slept. They laughed about it at first, but on June 27th, they played those exact numbers together. For the first time, they won the mega jackpot, over $300 million, split 5 ways. When asked how they chose those numbers, one of them simply said, "We didn't. They chose us." Then came the most puzzling case of all. In 2023, across the sea in Dublin, a man with no digital footprint, no known job, no prior wins, walked into Ireland's National Lottery office. He claimed a $60 million prize. The numbers he played had not appeared in over 100 years. The draw date, June 30th. Coincidence? Or something deeper? Because again and again, across nations, cultures, languages, these days at the end of June keep flickering like signals. Not just days, but doorways. Not just wins, but awakenings. There's an old belief, shared among sages, monks, and forgotten mathematicians, that not all time is equal. Some dates hum louder. They're called gateway days, moments when the veil between the seen and unseen grows thin, when chaos and order briefly touch, when numbers stop acting like numbers and begin to act like messages. And those moments, they always circle back to the final days of June. Nostradamus, in one of his more cryptic passages, left behind a line too obscure for most to decode. The wheel shall spin thrice on days of twin fate. The hand that grasps it shall change his state. And in ancient Buddhist scriptures, scrolls tucked away in Himalayan monasteries, and only translated in recent years, there's a quiet teaching. The mind that believes in randomness sees noise, but the mind that watches the rhythm sees the Dharma. Because this isn't just about numbers, it's about timing, alignment, a cosmic breath inhaled and held for just a few sacred moments. And those moments, right now, are returning. Look around, and you'll feel it, even if you can't explain it. The air feels charged, billboards flash brighter, jackpots swell with impossible weight, social feeds flood with dreams, intuitions, and those same 3 mysterious digits, repeating like echoes in a canyon. We are not simply entering another draw. We're approaching a threshold, a crossing disguised in silence, a chance cloaked as coincidence, a doorway hidden inside digits. So let me ask again, not to your mind, but to the part of you that already knows. What if you could hear the numbers the universe only whispers once every decade? What if you saw the clues, the soft alignments, the hidden pulses, while others stayed numb to the rhythm? Because now we go deeper, not into luck, but into the engine behind it, into the source where randomness dissolves and meaning begins. We're taught, almost from the moment we can understand the world, that luck is random, a coin flip, a dice roll. a fleeting anomaly in a system built on rules. That when good fortune appears, it's a mistake, a glitch in the matrix, a hiccup in probability, a gift no one can summon and no one can predict. And so, we dismiss it. We ignore the moments when things feel aligned, when a number keeps showing up, when a gut feeling turns out to be right, when a quiet voice inside says, now, and it leads to something we never expected. But not everyone ignores it, and not everyone believes in randomness. Psychologist Richard Wiseman, in a study that would go on to challenge everything we thought we knew about chance, made a strange discovery. People who believed they were lucky lived as if it were true, and their lives changed accordingly. They noticed patterns others missed. They listened to instinct when logic said wait. They smiled at strangers and stumbled into opportunities that shouldn't have happened. They stepped into moments of alignment again and again, not because they knew what was coming, but because they were open to the invisible architecture beneath reality. Not irrational, not reckless, just tuned in, attuned to the signs the universe leaves behind, to the patterns that whisper beneath the chaos, to the doorways disguised as ordinary numbers, ordinary days. But this wisdom didn't begin in a lab. It began in temples. It was etched into stone by those who watched the stars, not for light, but for rhythm. It was passed from teacher to student in monasteries, where silence was the language of understanding. It was spoken by prophets, whose words sounded like riddles, but carried the weight of time itself. They didn't call it psychology. They called it alignment. They said, the man who watches the falling leaf knows when fortune bends low. It was never about luck. It was about preparedness, about presence, about listening for the quiet shift before the world changes shape. In remote Buddhist temples, places untouched by time, monks still whisper a truth that most of the modern world has forgotten. Fortune is not given. It is revealed to the one prepared to see, not to the frantic, not to the greedy, not to the ones shouting into the storm, but to the one who becomes quiet, still, aware, because the signs are never loud. They come in nudges, repeating numbers, unexpected alignments, moments that seem small, until you look back and realize everything changed right there. So what does this mean for you? It means that what's coming next, the numbers you're about to hear, are not wishful thinking. They are not superstition polished to sound profound. They are not random selections picked from a hat. They are echoes of something older than logic, of something deeper than chance, of something written not just in books or data, but in the very design of how energy moves through time. These numbers have been appearing for decades, always in the hands of those on the edge of change, those who felt something stir in their chest before they ever saw a ticket, those who couldn't explain it, but followed the pull anyway. Again and again, these numbers return, in rituals, in dreams, in records left behind by those who somehow knew. They are not digits, they are doors. And if you've heard the knocking lately, if you've felt that hum in the silence, that pull in your bones, that quiet invitation to look just a little closer, then you already know. The universe doesn't shout. It leaves patterns. It sets the stage. It knocks, softly, precisely, patiently. The only question is, are you ready to open the door? Because next, we cross the threshold, and what waits on the other side is something most people never get to see. Let's begin. The first number is 3, the manifester, the breath where idea becomes form, where intention becomes motion, where the unseen becomes seen. 3 is not just a number, it's a sacred rhythm, a pulse that beats quietly beneath the surface of our world. 1, 2, 3. The moment where energy locks into place. It is the triangle, the first shape that can truly hold something. The first moment that structure is born from chaos. A point connects to another, but it takes a third to create meaning. And throughout history, across continents and belief systems, 3 has always returned. It whispers in sacred texts, it rings in prayers, in chants, in the design of temples and the cycles of time. In Christianity, it is the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the divine trifold nature of creation itself. In Hinduism, it becomes Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the sustainer, Shiva, the destroyer, three forces that hold the wheel of the cosmos in balance. In Buddhism, the three jewels guide every awakened path: the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, the teacher, the teaching, the community. But it doesn't end with religion. Three lives in the structure of time itself: past, present, future. It governs our being: mind, body, spirit. It shapes every story: beginning, middle, end. This is not coincidence. This is not designed by chance. 3 is encoded into everything. In the tarot, the number 3 is personified by the Empress, lush, radiant, abundant. She does not desire wealth. She embodies it. She is fertility, creation, manifestation, not of theory, but of touch. She represents when the invisible becomes visible, when what was once just a wish is now breathing, moving, thriving. To draw the Empress is to receive permission from the universe to create, to bring into reality that which only lived in your heart. But perhaps what's most astonishing is that even in the world of cold numbers, the world of lotteries, probabilities, and mathematics, the number 3 refuses to stay silent. Across 2 decades of draw history, 3 has emerged in key positions again and again. Specifically, the 4th or 5th position. A place where most wouldn't look. A place just far enough from the center to go unnoticed. But it's there. In 7 of the last 20 major wins, it appears like a ghost that won't be forgotten. Too precise to be overlooked. Too frequent to be dismissed. Most will call that coincidence. But ancient wisdom says otherwise. In Buddhist teachings passed down orally, preserved only in the breath of monks who've chanted the same lines for lifetimes, there's a saying: when a number returns 3 times, it is no longer a sign, it is a summons. In other words, what repeats is not random. What repeats is asking you to wake up. And what is 3, if not a signal? A pattern circling back with increasing clarity. A cosmic invitation to begin creating before the window closes again. It is the start of movement, the seed pushing through soil, the first ripple across a still pond. It's not the end. It's not even the middle. It is the moment before everything else begins. 3 is where vision takes shape, where alignment begins to speak, where karma, as the monks say, rises to the surface with form. And maybe that's why it appears again and again when fortune is near, not as decoration, but as the first door, the key that unlocks the lock, the first step across the threshold. And now, you've seen it. So the real question is, are you willing to follow what comes next? Because what follows 3 isn't random. It's revelation point 1. And now, we come to the second number, 9, the finisher, the completer, the final turning of the sacred wheel. If 3 is the spark of creation, the moment the universe inhales and life begins to stir, then 9 is the exhale, the release, the stillness that comes only after the work is done. 9 is not noise. It doesn't clamor for attention like the early numbers. It doesn't rush forward. It waits. Because 9 knows all things end. And in that ending, something is always born again. In the ancient systems of numerology, 9 is the final digit, the summit of the mountain, the number of endings, fulfillment, integration. It represents the completion of a karmic cycle, the result of effort, of lessons learned, of energies finally coming full circle. It is the moment where the pattern no longer repeats, because the lesson is complete. But 9 is not just the end. It is the sacred moment before the beginning, the pregnant pause before the curtain lifts again. It holds a dual magic, both closing and preparing. It is death and rebirth. It is silence and revelation. In nearly every spiritual tradition, 9 holds hidden authority. In Norse cosmology, the universe is built around 9 realms, each connected by the great tree, Yggdrasil. In Greek myth, there are 9 muses, daughters of memory, guardians of all creative and intellectual inspiration. In the Baha'i faith, 9 is the number of completeness, of unity, the point at which everything returns to the source. In Chinese numerology, 9 is considered the most powerful number, connected with the emperor, divine power, and long life. And in Buddhism, 9 is the ninth consciousness, the deepest layer of awareness, untouched by fear or illusion. It is the consciousness beyond ego, beyond karma, beyond form. 9 is the awakened soul, the one who no longer needs to ask why, because they already know. But perhaps the most chilling reference to 9 comes from a rarely cited vision of Baba Vanga, the blind Bulgarian mystic whose predictions span decades and continents. According to a hidden oral record, passed down from a single monk who traveled with her near the end of her life, she once said, "The circle closes on the 9th turn, and then fortune smiles." What did she mean? That we must pass through all phases, all confusions, all delays, all false starts, until finally, the wheel turns that 9th and final time and reveals what it's been holding back. And it's not just prophecy that points to this. In the last 18 months, in real-world lottery draws across the globe, 9 has become something of a ghost. The number that appears when no one expects it. The number that emerges when the stakes are impossibly high. Not in small games, not in casual draws, but in the largest jackpots, the record-breaking moments, the ones that shift lives forever. 9 appears most when fortune truly means something. It's as if 9 knows where it's needed and refuses to show up anywhere else. Like a final puzzle piece that doesn't reveal itself until the rest of the picture is ready. And when it arrives, it does not shout, it settles. Because 9 doesn't chase, it completes. It isn't hungry, it is full, whole, resolved. It is the teacher who doesn't speak, but simply looks at you. And in that silence, everything becomes clear. And that's the energy 9 brings into your life when it appears. It doesn't ask you to run. It asks you to remember, to pause, to realize that what you've been searching for may already be within reach. In sacred geometry, 9 is the perfect circle, not just closed, but infinite, a symbol of energy that cannot be broken, cannot be lost, and cannot be stolen. So if you see 9 repeating, on clocks, on signs, in dates and patterns, pay attention, because something is completing, a cycle is closing, a reward is ripening. You don't have to force it, you don't have to chase it, you just have to recognize it. 9 is the number that only shows itself when the moment is ready, when you are ready. It doesn't ask for proof, it is the proof. So let the others call it coincidence. But those who understand the language of energy, those who study the silent mathematics of fate, they know. When 9 begins to appear, especially in fortune, the wheel is on its final spin. And what waits on the other side is something that's been circling you for a very long time. And now, it's almost here. And now, we arrive at the third number, 21, the master's number, the final note in a sacred chord. The number that doesn't just complete the sequence, it elevates it. 21 is not a beginning. It's not even just an ending. It is the full journey, lived, endured, transcended. In the Tarot's major arcana, 21 is the world, the last step in the fool's journey, the moment of completion, when all trials, all transformations, all awakenings come full circle. The world is the card of fulfillment, of integration, arrival, elevation. It is not naive victory, it is earned mastery. It is the reward given not just for surviving, but for understanding the path and becoming more because of it. In this symbolism, 21 is not just success. It is the kind of success that means something. It says, you've seen it all, and you're still here, wiser, lighter, whole. In ancient mysticism, 21 was understood as cosmic balance, the full sequence of energy, harmonized. The ancient Hebrew Kabbalists saw divine meaning in 21 as three sevens, a triple completion, a number vibrating with perfected potential. In the Vedic sciences of the East, 21 is the number of ritual completion, used in sacred fires to seal intention and offer it to the cosmos. It is the number of divine reward, not for the one who asks, but for the one who waits, who watches, who completes the cycle without giving up halfway. And here's where it gets even stranger, because while 21 has been praised in mysticism, it's also begun to echo in modern data. In the last 12 months alone, from the United States to Europe to Australia, 21 has appeared 4 separate times in major lottery wins. Not just scattered wins, not just midweek moments, but always in final draws. Draws that were either record-breaking or marked the close of long unclaimed jackpots. And 21 never appeared alone. Each time, it showed up alongside other high numbers, combinations of elevation, momentum, closure. It was as if 21 was not just a number in the pattern. It was the pattern's final permission slip, the signal that the sequence was no longer building. It was complete. And as if that weren't enough, hidden deep within the writings of Nostradamus, the seer, whose verses still defy full understanding, there lies a line few have ever truly examined. One of his more encrypted passages reads, "The wheel's last spoke is the 21st. The one who sees it shall hold the gold." The wheel, always the wheel. And the last spoke, the final turn, the 21st. This is no longer just poetry, it's alignment. Because in mysticism, in symbolism, in data, and in prophecy, 21 keeps returning, not with noise, but with finality. It is the number that doesn't begin the journey. It honors it. It doesn't call you forward. It tells you you're already standing in the answer. Because if 3 is the seed, and 9 is the fruit ripened in time, then 21 is the harvest. It's the table prepared for you, the gate already open, the reward already yours. But it only appears to those who've made it this far, who listened when others tuned out, who stayed when the path went quiet. So when you see 21, don't second guess. You're not chasing signs anymore. You're holding one. The final piece, the signal that everything you've felt, everything you've seen, was leading here. This isn't just a number, it's the completion code. So now you've seen them. 3, 9, 21. They're not just numbers. They're not coincidences. They're not clever guesses stitched together to impress. They are keys. Keys that unlock a rhythm buried beneath reality. A sequence that stretches across time, through prophecy, pattern, and the quiet math of the cosmos. A sacred triad designed not to confuse, but to awaken. 3 is the spark, the moment imagination touches the veil and begins to push through. It is the whisper of yes from the universe, the signal that says, you may begin. 9 is the completion, the karma matured, the circle closed, the wisdom earned. It is the soft echo of a life aligned, the final bow before the next act begins. And 21 is the seal, the blessing, the invisible hand on your shoulder saying, now, it's time. Together, these numbers form more than a pattern. They form a pathway, a journey from intention to fulfillment, from whisper to roar, from wandering to arrival. And maybe it's not a coincidence that they've come to you now, in these final days of June, when the veils grow thinner, when old energy begins to shift, when windows quietly open for those with eyes to see. Because these numbers don't come for everyone. They come for those who've been waiting, for those who've felt the hum in the silence, for those who've looked at the clock, or the screen, or the slip of a receipt, and noticed the same digits again and again. They come to those who've sensed something building, but couldn't name it. To those who've walked through struggle and still believe that something more is possible, they come for you, not to tell you what to do, but to remind you what you already know. The universe doesn't shout, it aligns. It lays down quiet breadcrumbs. It builds a bridge of signs. And then, when the moment is right, it hands you the final piece, not as a gift, but as recognition. Because you weren't just lucky to find these numbers, you were ready. Now the question is, what will you do with them? Because this isn't about superstition. It's about alignment, awareness, action. And something tells me, your moment, it hasn't passed, it's just beginning.